Yeah, it looks like it's recording. Alright, so basically we're just having a talk with my buddy Aaron, known this kid since back in the day, and then my roommate Shane.
You can just call me Mike, M-I-C, because that's what's in front of my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Master Mike right here.
Master Mike.
We're gonna just have a little talk, maybe even a debate about some animes.
Yeah.
What were we talking about before? We were talking about One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Yeah.
Why you thought that it wouldn't come out with more seasons.
Yeah. I'm thinking that, like, One Punch Man, obviously I watched the first episode today, and it was really fucking good, but I don't know, man. I don't think it's gonna keep going like Naruto.
I don't think it will, but I think it should have a season 2.
Yeah. I don't know. Me, it's just gonna be one of those things that kind of drops off after like the first season.
Some of the best animes though only have like 1 or 2 seasons. I don't know. I think One Punch Man is gonna go on. I've seen all 12 episodes. I've seen every filler. I've seen every movie. They even came out with the One Punch Man specials. I've seen those too.
There's a movie?
Yeah.
For One Punch Man?
Yeah. It's a short one. It's just like a special. But I think they'll keep coming out with it, but I think it's hard to find concepts for them to tackle because, like we were talking about earlier, Saitama is invincible and he has that power right up front. It's not like Naruto where he's the lonely kid on the swing and all of a sudden he's the strongest ninja on the planet next to Sasuke. They're both like equals. Depends on who you talk to. But I think One Punch Man is going to keep going. They're just struggling to find where to go with it. I think since they have Saitama as like a superhero type thing, that for every superhero they need to have like a supervillain. A supervillain. And like they need to make somebody that could almost rival him in a way. That, like somebody else that may have also got that strong from the same method, that also like lost their hair and lost all their emotion and stuff. I think in the One Punch Man verse they strongly established the difference between monsters, humans, and heroes. Heroes and monsters were people, except something happened in their lives that impacted them, even positive or negative, turning them into a hero or a monster. What I think Saitama's thing is whoever gifted him with his abilities, strength, speed, the ability to one punch anything, that is who his final opponent's going to be. Yeah. The person that's making people into heroes or monsters. Oh. Yeah, okay. So I think they're struggling to establish a backstory and a lore because, like you were saying, there is no already established manga, there is no established fandom. It just kind of came out and everybody was going crazy over it, and rightfully so, because the One Punch Man anime and manga and specials in that little movie, they're awesome. Mm-hmm. But they're struggling to find out, like they could plan out what happens in season 2, but to really plan out what season 2 and how things happen in season 2, you got to know what happens in season 6. That way it all lines up and it all makes sense. Yeah. So I think what they're doing now, and the reason why we haven't seen One Punch Man anime in a year or almost 2 years, is because they're struggling to figure all that out, get it cemented, and then tell the story.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Rather than going off cowboy and just shooting their guns off everywhere and just giving us One Punch Man specials and
kind of like how that. One Piece is doing it.
Kind of like how One Piece does it, where they just all of a sudden you're into it and then there's 40 episodes of filler that you don't really need to watch, but you feel like you have to because you might miss one scene. Yeah. But
that's why One Piece is just like, I can't even get into it. Like I'll get into it for like the first 100 episodes, and then it's just like, what is going on now? This is part of the story, like, or they're just traveling to different islands, and I don't know. I mean, I guess there's certain episodes where like, wow, this is amazing, but then they just kind of just lose me after a while.
No, I found with One Piece, I've seen a lot of the episodes. I haven't watched it for a year, and then I'll go back and I watch 10 or 20 episodes, and in a row throughout a couple of days, and throughout those 10 or 20 episodes, I'm thinking like, come on, when is this gonna happen? And for an entire episode, they're just running somewhere, and they're just talking about something, and they do too much to establish a backstory and a feel to the characters to make it makes it to the point where, are those really the characters, or are they trying to change the character's mentality too much? And I don't like that. The only person who hasn't fallen victim to that is Zoro.
Zoro is the best character in One Piece, by far.
Even after everything that happened after Dressrosa, even with Smile Island, the place where the two captains fight, it's Akainu and the ice guy. I forget his name. He rides a bicycle across the sea by turning the water to ice.
I actually did not really watch much of One Piece at all, so I don't know
exactly
what's going
my
on.
point.
Because you can't get into it because you don't know where to start. And even at episode 750 or wherever the hell they're at,
dude, there's so many.
It's just like maybe 40 of those episodes are actually impactful to the story, and the rest of it is just filler or nonsensical stuff that you don't really need to know to understand. Like, I like the flashbacks where it describes Luffy during the 2-year time gap, doing his training, learning fighting moves from animals, and learning how to use his devil fruit and potentially awakening it in the future with either Gear 5th or just Gear 0, whatever they want to go with it. It's just...
See, that sounds cool, but the thing is, to get to that episode, I'm gonna have to watch 700 episodes just to get to that, like, that part.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't really want to.
I tried watching it after Dressrosa and all that, and Dressrosa was the coolest arc to come out yet. But even then, there was maybe 50 episodes that didn't need to be in there.
Yeah.
It was just too much. Like, you understood the point. Everybody got turned into toys, and you didn't need to see a whole episode of an entire town being turned into toys, because you understand that point in maybe the first 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So then it gets down to the point where they're fighting Big Mom, and Big Mom's going on a rampage screaming Kokombuche, Kokombuche, because she's craving that. That was an entire 2 episodes. And all of a sudden, Jinbei appears out of nowhere and just shoves a Kokombuche plate in her mouth.
Yeah.
And she shuts up. And you wanted that to be done in the first 10 seconds. You see her destroying her entire city. But, like, you're just like, come on, when is this going to keep going? Like, I don't even understand how it got to be the #1 anime in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, every single anime does that, though. Every single anime, stretches out one scene. Like, everybody says that Dragon Ball Z scene where Goku's charging up takes like 20 episodes, but like
it was to an epic build-up rather than an epic letdown almost.
Yeah.
Because when Luffy turned Gear 4th, there was no build-up to it, and he just kind of did it, and everybody's like, "Oh, where'd this come from?" And then all of a sudden, flashbacks for a few episodes. Then you come back and he's fighting and it's awesome, and then all of a sudden he passes out because he uses too much energy. That makes sense, but it gets to the point he never is going to use Gear 4th after that until something comes up. And then he's going to use Gear 4th, and it's either going to be just enough, way too much, or nowhere near enough.
Yeah.
And you know that's going to happen. So that's either going to inspire him to harness a new form, awaken his devil fruit, Gear 5th, Gear 0, or devil fruit awakening.
Yeah.
Anything in that, but you know where it's going because they telegraph the series so much. Naruto had some of that, but there was no way to telegraph the Indra path, the Ashura path, the Renegon. There was no way to telegraph that was coming 100 episodes ahead of time.
Yeah.
There's no way for you to know that reading the manga ahead of time.
So Bleach is just full of filler, pretty much. Not Bleach, I mean
One Piece.
One Piece.
That brings up a good point. Bleach. I think Bleach should make a definite comeback and really recover from the Fullbring arc. I thought the Fullbring arc was amazing. I thought it was awesome, but I heard a lot of people in the community were just saying that
They rushed it.
And it wasn't really well thought out. The Fullbring form wasn't well explained, and I still have the question: can anybody on the planet harness their Fullbring power and bring their full power to the front and use that and harness it in the ways like Dirty Boots? I understand that, but there's somebody in some sort of town and somewhere in the world that has experienced the same kind of thing. They may not have gotten the Dirty Boots ability. They may have gotten something else, like where they're able to manifest some sort of energy in another way.
Yeah.
And
tell me about this new series that you're talking about, because like I thought Bleach was over. Honestly, I think Bleach is over, and I mean it'd be cool if they kept going with Bleach, but I just think they just ended it.
Well,
I don't know.
They ended the anime with the Fullbring arc, but the manga did go to the Quincy arc, I think is what you could call it. I'm not really sure, like, what else. It has the main bad guy is Yuha Bach, which is the, like, lead of the Quincy's, like, the father of the Quincy's.
Yeah.
And he apparently is also the son of the Soul King, because he refers to the Soul King as his dad, which is a little unusual. Like, they never really went in depth.
Oh, you know what? I actually didn't catch that part.
That was in the manga.
And they didn't really explain where the Soul King was throughout the entire series. Like, it didn't matter that they weren't even on his radar, his level. Even when they went to Waco Mundo and they were having that huge blowout, they never really established what the Soul King was.
Wasn't Aizen trying to kill the Soul King for some reason?
That's what Aizen wanted to do. And that also... I want to know more about Aizen's reasoning for that. Because in the manga, they made it clear that if a Quincy was to see the Soul King, they instantly want to destroy it. Like when Yuha was next to the Soul King and Ichigo comes into the room, for some reason Ichigo immediately attacked the Soul King and he didn't want to. Like there was an impulse. And Yuha said it was because he had Quincy blood in him. So, like, instantly when a Quincy sees the Soul King, they want to kill him. Aizen saw the Soul King, but he was a Soul Reaper. Why would he want to destroy the Soul King?
Maybe so Yuha never came to get the Soul King.
You think he knew? That brings up something else. Because Aizen could use his hypnosis on Yuha. And in order to do that, they have to witness the release of the Zanpakuto. But they never showed that happened in the manga, which means Aizen may have seen Yuha before, and back 1,000 years ago during the first war against the Quincy's. They never tell how old Aizen is. They don't like go past that 100-year flashback of him whenever he was a lieutenant. They never show what happens before that with Aizen. Like they never. I think they needed to add more onto Aizen's character, like his backstory, to further understand why he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like, because he already had his plans in that 100-year flashback during his arc, when he was the lieutenant and he was testing the visored thing. He was making people the visors. He was doing the holification. He already had his plan in motion. They didn't show like what caused him to want to do this plan.
I agree, but to establish all that may have been too much filler. They didn't want to go the One Piece route.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep it more straight to the story and linear to Ichigo's realization of his powers. But I think Ichigo, in the next season that's coming up, I've heard fan theories, I've seen official releases, I've seen everything about it because I'm curious at this point. It's everybody boils down to Ichigo becoming the next Soul King.
Yeah.
Sounds
by
crazy,
either absorbing the current Soul King or defeating him in combat. And he would become more of a pure Soul King because he has every known power in the Bleach universe that we know of currently. He's not really good at using Hados, but he can use Saros because he's part Hollow. He's part Soul Reaper. He's a regular person, and he's a Quincy, and he has all those powers mixed together. And it's just the difference between the blue Getsuga, the red Getsuga, the black Getsuga, and I think when he becomes a Soul King, he'll have a white Getsuga, like a pure form. The opposite of a hollow Getsuga.
There's not enough explained about the Soul King. I think you were talking about that earlier, but like, they don't really show what happens to the Soul King after Ichigo attacked him. Like, everyone thinks that that one died, but there's like, because there was a moment in the manga where everything was about to collapse, and then they like found another piece of the Soul King still alive somewhere else, and it stabilized everything, and like, they never really explained what happened after. I'm not sure how much of that. Did you read all that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm caught up.
So like, you've seen like the left arm of the Soul King and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and they never really showed what happened with all of that, because it made it seem like he died, but everything stayed stable. So there would have to still be a Soul King if everything was stable. Didn't collapse. And also, like, why he was frozen. The Soul King was also frozen in ice, or some sort of thing, whenever they saw him for that brief moment. Like, was he too powerful that they had to keep him in there and cut off his limbs? Put him up? Like, was he dangerous? Was the other
No idea. Yeah, I'm not a Bleach guy, so.
Yeah. They contained him for some reason and split him. Like, they split him like Exodia. Like, they had the head, and then they had like limbs. I don't think they focused on the legs though, but like his arms were somewhere else.
That's true. Wait. So, catch me up. So they split the Soul King into a bunch of different parts, right?
And they sealed his main body in some sort of thing. And they kept him in the Soul Palace, which had like 5 captains for Squad 0. Like, they were all the strongest, supposedly, and they guarded him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's when, like, that's the whole battle between, like, those guys and the Quincy's or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that part.
Oh, so you did read that?
I kind of skipped through it. I mean, I don't know. It was kind of one of those things where I wasn't really too interested.
In one of the, like, just before Aizen's final form with the Okyoku, like, just the one where he has the wings and his eyes are like purple, and he has that third eye.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was starting to come very similar in look to the Soul King. Like, if he transformed a couple more times, like, maybe he was going to become on par with the Soul King.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What would you think about that?
I don't know about on par with the Soul King, because we don't really know the Soul King's full capabilities, where he comes from, his backstory, what wars he's fought in, what battles he's fought, if there was any battles or any wars, or if he was just always there and he's the main proprietor to the reason why the afterlife in Bleach is what it is. If that's his power and that's where he comes from and he's the physical embodiment of that path, kind of like how how everything makes up everything. What if he's everything that makes up that and they're just living in his dimension? I don't know if the Soul King would be more like a physical embodiment of what gives the Soul Reaper their innate abilities, if he is the father to the souls of the Zanpakuto, or if the Soul King is just a really strong Soul Reaper is he just a Soul Reaper? Because he Yuha referred to him as his father.
Yeah.
But people refer to their father, that could mean God, that could mean their dad, that could mean their grandfather, or their adopted parents. Yuha might be somebody that was adopted to him, they got into a fight, and he tried to become powerful without him. And that's where Quincy's come from, is that innate ability to try to destroy the Soul King. That's their drive, and that's what gives them their abilities to absorb Reishi like that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them a good counter to fighting a Soul Reaper, is because of that drive to kill the Soul King. But like I said, we don't know enough about where the Soul King comes from, what he is, what he's capable of, or really who, what, where did he come from, who he is, why he is, and what impact does he have on the story. We don't know any of those 5 major questions: who, what, why, where, and when. We don't know anything about that with the Soul King, just that he's there.
Yeah.
And there and then isn't really pertinent.
Yeah.
It seemed really unusual with what they did with his arms. Captain the white-haired guy?
Yeah, I think that was
Ukitake?
Ukitake. I don't know if that's his... we know who you're talking about.
Put one of the arms inside of him, and because you know how he was sick, he was like coughing up blood or whatever. He was gonna die from that, but they put one of the arms of the Soul King inside of him, and as long as it was inside of him, he would live, but he would still have the sickness. Like, it wouldn't cure him, but it would keep him alive. And when they took the arm out of him because the body was supposedly destroyed by Ichigo, that stabilized the planet, or all of existence, but Ukitake had to die for it.
Huh.
So, like, why would the arm of the Soul King... Like, I'm not sure if... I can't remember if they forced it in, or if he, like, made a deal with it or something. Like,
some sort of pact, like he's a Jinchuriki for his arm.
But why would the Soul King want to do that?
Exactly, we don't know enough about him and what he does and how his arm stabilizes it. He might be that the reason... He might be siphoning off the souls from the living worlds to come to his realm to live. He may be a good guy for trying to give people a second life and giving them innate abilities throughout their wildest dreams and their inner awakenings, for the reason that Rukia Zanpakuto is harnessing ice. Maybe she's a really cold personality, or that's who she was when the Soul King read her and gave her those abilities, or matched her up with the spirit of ice, which would be her Zanpakuto. And that gets into an interesting questions about what's the ice captain's name? Like
Tishiro Hitsugaya.
Hitsugaya, yeah. Whenever Hitsugaya's Zanpakuto, they're pretty similar. I don't know which one's colder.
One's Rukia's supposed to be based on snow, and his was supposed to be ice. So I mean, yeah, they still have very similar concepts. And you notice when Hitsugaya's flower petals disappear and he gets his real ability that nobody knew about originally, he was so cold that guy that was holding on to him, like, became frozen. Just like how Rukia's body in her Bankai is, her body goes like negative something degrees Celsius, and if you get too close to her, you freeze to death. Like, they both had almost the exact same concept, I think.
Yeah.
And that gets to the point, did the Soul King grant them their powers, and that's why they needed to stabilize the world? Did the Soul King do that because he wanted to stabilize the world because of some great catastrophe where maybe all the souls of the Zanpakutos, maybe they were evil and they were waging war against either humanity or some sort of entity, and the Soul King was a human, and maybe he decided to make all of those dimensions, like the What's the name of the soul dimension that they live in?
Soul Society.
Soul Society. Why did I forget that?
I don't know.
It sounds
Everything's
so
really
obvious.
similar, like
Yeah.
Soul Reapers, Soul King, Soul Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they live in the soul. I wanted to say Seirete for some reason.
Serete, I believe.
That's something different. I wanted to say Seirete because that's like a big ass building.
Yeah, that's
But,
a building in the Soul. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say they live in the Seirete, which
Yeah.
isn't entirely true, but they
The
live.
captains, I think, do or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
But maybe he created the Soul Society to take all the souls of that living world into a new world where they could live forever, they could live out their dreams, but then we gotta consider where people are from in that Soul Society. They have a low caste, what do they call it, the Rukon district?
Yeah.
Where
And
it's
Rukia
like,
came from there.
Ruki came from there, and
Yeah.
they consider that like the poor, the ghetto.
Yeah.
And then we got to consider the hierarchy. They established 4 royal families, and Ichigo is part of the fire royal family. Then there's
Kuchiki.
Kuchiki, yeah. There's his family, who's a representation of another element, and then there's the 2 other ones that embody the other 4 elements, or the rest of the 4 elements.
Yeah.
And they all have a kingdom to them. And why is that? Why was all that established? And I think the Soul King really shook that up and made us ask those questions.
I feel like those those palaces, like they may all like worship the Soul King in some sort of to their own like respect.
They might have rituals that they don't know why they do them anymore.
Yeah, because
And that
of how
could
long
be-
he's been a thing.
Yeah. That could be why Byakuya was so pissed when Rukia just ditched off and met Ichigo. That must have been why he was so pissed.
I think the only thing that most of the Soul Reapers of the latest generation, the only thing they knew, the only thing that the Soul Reapers of the past wanted them to know was to keep the Soul King safe, because if not, everything would collapse. So like, maybe Yamamoto knows more, but he died. So like...
Is that the guy who wrote the Bleach?
No, the head captain.
Oh, okay.
He was the head captain. He is like, as far as we know, he was like one of the longest living Soul Reapers of that time, but they killed him. So maybe all the Soul Reapers of that current generation didn't know more, or they didn't want them to know more than just to keep him alive. Like, they just...
Why were the Quincy's trying to kill
the Quincy's
Soul
aren't
King?
Soul Reapers.
But why were they trying to kill the Soul King? If everything would just collapse.
See, if we knew more about the Soul King, we could give an intelligent theory as to why, but we won't know until we're told.
So,
I remember what happened with the arm. So, this will actually bring up a little more question. Yuha wanted to kill the Soul King, and he got Ichigo to kill the body. And then the arm comes out of Ukitake.
yeah.
Instead of killing the arm, though, Yuha absorbs the arm. Yuha became the Soul King in that moment. But Yuha still died. And they didn't show what happened with the arm. Did the arm die with him? Like, didn't show that.
Is the arm sealed inside of him? Is the reason why Ukitake couldn't die just because the Soul King didn't want him to die, so his arm would always have a host to live in? And is that why he was still in perpetual sickness, perpetual pain, because he was evil and he could cure him, but he just wanted to keep him alive? Yeah. Or maybe that he didn't have the power with just that arm. So that raises a question: is the Soul King innately evil? Because if he had the ability to keep him alive, he had the cure to some degree. But he didn't have the full cure, or he didn't want to administer the full cure. Heal him because he didn't want his arm to be permanently trapped in him. He wanted him to die at some point so he could get his arms back. So was it that the Soul King chose to go into that form because he knew that splitting up would be the best way to take on all the different Quincy's, just in case that moment happened where Ichigo kills the main body? He would have killed the arms too.
Yeah.
But since the arms are separate, are they designed to be that way, or was the Soul King overwhelmed by the thousands of Soul Reapers and Quincy's that all went after him? Was he a tyrant? Was he like a Fidel Castro? Was he like a Obama or a Donald Trump, of the Soul Society? Or was he more of like a legend in the Soul Society, like Ben Franklin was never president, but he might as well have been,
Yeah.
kind of thing? Or was he the self-proclaimed king? Was he the king? Is he actually the Soul King, or is he just the strongest?
Even more question about his personality. The other arm. The other arm was secretly a Quincy working for Yuha all along. Do you remember, like, that little guy that, like, kind of looked like one of those little aliens from Star Wars? Like, with the black face and the eyes. And then, he exploded out of that, and he was the arm. And he was evil. Like, Mayori Kuratsuchi fought him. And for some reason, that arm wanted to fight. That arm wanted to fight for Yuha. The other arm wanted to go inside of Ukitake and didn't make him evil. And then the body was frozen. Like, what does this say about the Soul King? And possibly Yuha is his son. Like, what does this say about the Soul King? Like, there's so many mysteries about
so
what
many
he's
questions,
doing.
man. But I think this is a good time to wrap up the video.
Okay.
But yeah, man. That was a good little talk about Bleach.
Wish we could have said more about One Punch Man, but...
Oh, no. Maybe we'll put that in the next video, but
Y'all be good now?
Yeah.
Bail traffic signs, pay your taxes, don't drink, don't do drugs.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that thing. Comment, like, subscribe.
Yeah.
Fucking tell you.
Or is it like, comment, subscribe?
Or like, comment, subscribe.
Or is it comment, subscribe, and like?
Comment, subscribe,
What
whatever.
all the YouTubers say?
Alright.